The ultimatum. The vast chamber of the galactic hegemony's High Council fell silent as the human ambassador strode forward. Ambassador Lyra Chen's footsteps echoed off the polished obsidian floors, her determined gait belying the gravity of her mission. Thousands of alien eyes followed her progress, a sea of tentacles, appendages, and sensory organs all focused on this lone representative of humanity. Lyra stopped before the towering dais where the hegemony's ruling triumvirate perched. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. This moment would define the future of her species and, quite possibly, the fate of the galaxy itself. Esteemed members of the galactic hegemony, Lyra's voice rang out, amplified by the chamber's acoustics. I come before you today not as a supplicant, but as a harbinger. Murmurs rippled through the assembled dignitaries. The Arxa delegate, a towering insectoid, clicked its mandibles in displeasure. The Zora representative's bioluminescent patches flashed a warning pattern. Lyra continued, her voice steady and firm. For too long, humanity has watched as your hegemony has expanded unchecked across the stars. We've witnessed the subjugation of countless species, the strip mining of entire worlds, and the eradication of cultures that span millennia. The central figure of the triumvirate, High Arbiter Vexkar, leaned forward, its gelatinous form rippled with barely contained anger. You dare lecture us on our methods, human. Your species is but an infant in the cosmic order. You should be grateful we've allowed you to retain your autonomy thus far. A cold smile played across Lyra's lips. And that, High Arbiter, is precisely why I'm here today. Humanity will no longer stand idly by as you reshape the galaxy in your image. We've come to deliver an ultimatum. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of outrage. Delegates shouted, roared, and emitted pheromones of anger and disbelief. High Arbiter Vexkar raised a tentacle, and silence fell once more. An ultimatum. Vexkar's voice dripped with condescension. And what, pray tell, could your pitiful species possibly threaten us with? Lyra's eyes blazed with intensity. Cease your expansion. Withdraw from the territories you've unjustly claimed. Grant independence to the species you've enslaved. If you do not comply within one standard galactic cycle, the consequences will be severe. Laughter echoed through the chamber, a discordant symphony of alien mirth. Even the typically stoic Meridians were visibly amused, their crystalline bodies vibrating with mocking frequencies. High Arbiter Vexkar's form rippled with what passed for laughter in its species. And if we refuse its generous offer, will you wage war against us with your handful of colonies and primitive starships? Lyra's expression remained impassive. If you refuse, your worlds will burn. Your fleets will be scattered to the cosmic winds. Your empire, built on the bones of 1,000 civilizations, will crumble to dust. The laughter died away, replaced by a tense silence. The assembled delegates glanced at one another, uncertain whether to be outraged or unnerved by the humans' audacity. Vexkar's voice lowered to a dangerous whisper. You threaten us with destruction. You, whose homeworld we could crush beneath our heel with but a fraction of our might. We do not make threats, High Arbiter, Lyra replied calmly. We make promises. Humanity has tolerated your tyranny for far too long. We've watched, we've learned, and we've prepared. The hegemony believes it knows the full extent of our capabilities. I assure you, you do not. A new voice cut through the tension. Zolthor, the Zora representative, stepped forward. His bioluminescent patches pulsed with curiosity. What assurances do we have that your words are anything more than empty bravado? Lyra turned to address the Zora. You need no assurances beyond this. If the hegemony does not comply with our demands, you will witness firsthand the full extent of humanity's resolve. We may be young in your eyes, but we have learned much in our brief time among the stars. We've seen the atrocities committed in the name of your cosmic order, and we vowed never to let such horrors befall our own people. The Arxa delegate loudly scoffed. Your species is barely able to maintain a handful of colonies beyond your home system. How could you possibly hope to stand against the combined might of the hegemony? A ghost of a smile played across Lyra's lips. It's true, our visible presence in the galaxy is limited, but appearances can be deceiving. We've spent decades preparing for this moment, developing technologies and strategies that will level the playing field. The hegemony has grown complacent in its power, believing no force in the universe could challenge its dominion. That complacency will be your undoing. High Arbiter Vexcar's gelatinous form roiled with barely contained fury. You speak of technologies beyond your known capabilities. Do you expect us to believe you somehow leapfrogged centuries of development in mere decades? Believe what you will, High Arbiter, Lyra replied. But know this, humanity has always excelled at adaptation and innovation. We've studied your strengths, your weaknesses, and we've prepared accordingly. Our warriors train in simulations based on your tactics. Our scientists have reverse-engineered and improved upon captured hegemony technology. We are not the primitive species you believe us to be. A low murmur spread through the chamber as the delegates processed this information. Some scoffed at the claims, while others began to look worried. Zalthor, the Zora representative, spoke again. Even if what you say is true, surely you must realize the cost of such a conflict. Countless lives would be lost on both sides. Is that a price your species is willing to pay? Lyra's expression hardened. We understand the cost all too well, but we've seen the price of inaction, the subjugation and suffering of countless species under hegemony rule. Humanity has always stood against tyranny, even when the odds seemed insurmountable. We would rather die on our feet than live on our knees. High Arbiter Vexcar's voice boomed through the chamber. Enough of this foolishness. You come before us with grandiose claims and empty threats. The hegemony has stood for millennia, and it will not be cowed by the posturing of a fledgling species. Then you leave us no choice, Lyra said, her voice filled with quiet determination. Remember this moment, High Arbiter. Remember that we came to you in peace, offering a chance to avoid bloodshed. What follows is on your hands. With that, Lyra turned and began walking back down the long aisle of the chamber. The assembled delegates watched in stunned silence as the lone human made her exit. Just before reaching the massive doors, Lyra paused and turned back to face the triumvirate. One standard galactic cycle, High Arbiter. That's all the time you have to reconsider your position. When the cycle ends, humanity will act, and the galaxy will never be the same. The doors swung open, and Ambassador Lyra Chen stepped through, leaving a chamber full of bewildered, angry, and increasingly unsettled alien diplomats in her wake. As the doors closed behind her, Lyra allowed herself a small sigh of relief. She had delivered humanity's message, knowing full well that the hegemony was unlikely to heed the warning. Now, the real work would begin. Outside the council chamber, Lyra was met by her aide, Marcus Reeves. His normally cheerful face was drawn with tension. How did it go? He asked in a low voice as they hurried through the ornate corridors of the hegemony's seat of power. About as well as we expected, Lyra replied grimly. They laughed, they threatened, they dismissed. But I saw something in their eyes, Marcus. Beneath the arrogance and the snide remarks, there was a flicker of doubt. Marcus nodded. That's something at least. Do you think it will be enough to make them reconsider? Lyra shook her head. No, they're too set in their ways, too convinced of their own superiority. But that seed of doubt, that's what we needed to plant. It will grow in the coming days, and when we strike, it will blossom into full-blown panic. They reached their shuttle, a sleek vessel that looked positively primitive next to the grandiose hegemony ship stopped nearby. As they boarded, Lyra's communicator chirped. She answered, and a holographic image of Fleet Admiral Tanaka appeared. Ambassador, Tanaka said, her weathered face etched with concern. I take it from your expression that the hegemony was less than receptive to our ultimatum. Lyra nodded. As expected, Admiral. They're not going to back down. We need to proceed with the next phase of the operation. Tanaka's expression hardened. Understood. I'll alert all commands to begin final preparations. The hegemony has no idea what's coming their way. As the shuttle lifted off, leaving the glittering capital of the galactic hegemony behind, Lyra gazed out at the stars. Somewhere out there, humanity's hidden fleets were mobilizing. Advanced weapons were being brought online, and covert operatives were moving into position. The hegemony believed they were dealing with a minor annoyance, a young species overreaching its bounds. They had no idea that they had just set in motion a chain of events that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. As their shuttle jumped to faster-than-light travel, Lyra closed her eyes and whispered a quiet prayer. May the stars forgive us for what we're about to do. The ultimatum had been delivered. Now, humanity would show the galaxy exactly what it was capable of when pushed too far. Operation Stardust. As the human ultimatum reverberated through the halls of power across the galaxy, a hidden facility deep within the asteroid belt of the Alpha Centauri system hummed with activity. This was Nova Base, the nerve center of humanity's clandestine military operations, concealed from prying eyes for decades. Fleet Admiral Tanaka stood before a holographic display of the Milky Way, her weathered face illuminated by the swirling colors of star systems and nebulae. She watched as tiny indicators representing human fleets and assets blinked to life across the map, emerging from their hidden bases and stealth fields. Status report, Tanaka barked, her eyes never leaving the display. Colonel Alexei Volkov, her chief of operations, stepped forward. All fleet elements are reporting ready, Admiral. The Phantom Court has successfully infiltrated key hegemony systems, and our quantum entanglement communication network is fully operational. Tanaka nodded, a grim smile playing across her lips. And what of Project Nebula? Volkov's expression tightened. The nanoswarm is primed and ready, Admiral. But I must once again voice my concerns about its use. The potential for collateral damage is... Noted, Colonel. Tanaka cut him off. But we've been over this. The hegemony leaves us no choice. Sometimes, to save the forest, you must burn away the rot. As if on cue, a new hologram flickered to life beside them. It was Ambassador Lyra Chen, her face drawn with exhaustion after her confrontation with the Hegemony Council. Admiral, Lyra greeted, I'm en route back to Nova Base. The Hegemony reacted exactly as we predicted. They've dismissed our ultimatum and are likely preparing a punitive expedition as we speak. Tanaka's eyes narrowed. Then we stick to the plan. Lyra, I need you to activate our sleeper agents within the hegemony's subject races. It's time to light the fuse of rebellion across that empire. Lyra nodded sullenly. Understood. I'll make the calls as soon as I'm back. May the stars watch over us all. As Lyra's hologram winked out, Tanaka turned back to the galactic display. She zoomed in on Earth, a tiny blue marble that seemed so insignificant against the vast backdrop of space. Everything we've worked for comes down to this, she murmured. Humanity's last, best hope. On the other side of the galaxy, aboard the hegemony flagship, Eternal Dominion, High Arbiter Vexkar seethed with rage. Its gelatinous form roiled and bubbled as it addressed the assembled war council. The audacity of these humans, Vexkar bellowed. To threaten us, the galactic hegemony, with destruction. They must be taught the price of such insolence. General Zixtol, the hegemony's top military strategist, stepped forward. The insectoid's compound eyes glittered with cold calculation. High Arbiter, while I agree that the humans must be put in their place, I advise caution. That ultimatum was unusually confident for such a young species. Vexkar's form rippled with dismissive laughter. You give these primitives too much credit, General. What could they possibly have that could threaten our dominion? Zixtol's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Perhaps nothing, High Arbiter, but in my experience, it is unwise to underestimate an enemy, no matter how small they may appear. Before Vexkar could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. A junior officer rushed into the war room, its tentacles quivering with agitation. High Arbiter, we're receiving reports of simultaneous uprisings on multiple subject worlds. Tala Prime, Zeta Reticuli, Nova Stellis. They're all in open revolt to Vexcar's form, pulsed with shock and anger. Impossible. How could this happen without our knowledge? General Zixtal's compound eyes narrowed. It seems, High Arbiter, that the humans may have been busier than we realized. This is no coincidence. They're coordinating these rebellions. As the War Council erupted into chaos, Vexcar felt a flicker of something it had not experienced in centuries: doubt. Back on Nova Base, Laura Chen hurried through the bustling corridors, her footsteps echoing off the metal walls. She burst into the command center, where Admiral Tanaka and her staff were gathered around the holographic display. "It's done," Lyra announced, slightly out of breath. "Our agents have triggered uprisings across the hegemony. Their forces will be spread thin, trying to maintain control." Tanaka nodded approvingly. "Excellent work, Ambassador. Now we move to Phase 2. She turned to Colonel Volkov. "Activate the Phantom Core. It's time to show the hegemony what we're really capable of." Volkov saluted and moved to a nearby console. With a few quick commands, encrypted signals were sent across the vastness of space, activating humanity's most elite and secretive fighting force. In the shadows of a bustling hegemony space station orbiting Tala Prime, a nondescript maintenance worker suddenly stiffened. His eyes glazed over for a moment as the activation signal coursed through his neural implants. In an instant, years of deep cover fell away, replaced by the razor-sharp focus of a highly trained operative. Captain Sarah Hawkins of the Phantom Core flexed her fingers, feeling the nanotechnology in her body coming to life. She tapped her communicator, disguised as a simple piece of jewelry. "Spectre Team, this is Phantom Lead. Operation Trojan Horse is a go. I say again, Trojan Horse is a go." Across the station, 5 other workers received the message. Within minutes, they had gathered at a predetermined location, their bodies and minds primed for action. Sarah addressed her team, her voice low but intense. "You all know the mission. We take control of this station, disable its defenses, and open the way for our fleet. The hegemony thinks this is just another rebellion. We're going to show them how wrong they are." The team moved with practiced efficiency, their augmented bodies allowing them to overpower the station's security with ease. Alarms blared, but it was already too late. Sarah interfaced with the station's main computer, her neural implants allowing her to bypass security protocols that would have taken an army of hackers hours to crack. As the last firewall fell, Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. "Phantom Lead to Nova Base. The back door is open. Bring the pain." Admiral Tanaka watched as the indicator for Tala Station turned from red to green on her display. Similar reports were coming in from across hegemony space as Phantom Course teams seized control of key installations. "Now," Tanaka said softly, "we show them what humanity is truly capable of." She turned to her communications officer. "Signal the fleet. Operation Stardust begins now." Across the galaxy, hidden shipyards burst into activity. Vessels that had been carefully concealed for years emerged from asteroid fields, gas giant atmospheres, and even the coronas of stars. The ships were unlike anything the hegemony had ever seen, sleek, dark, and virtually undetectable to conventional sensors. At the heart of each fleet was a Nebula-class dreadnought, a vessel that represented the pinnacle of human military technology. These massive ships bristled with weapons that could reduce planets to ash, protected by shield systems reverse-engineered from a dozen alien races. As the human fleets converged on hegemony space, Admiral Tanaka addressed her forces. Her words were broadcast to every ship, every soldier, every agent in the field. "Men and women of Earth and her colonies, the moment we have prepared for is upon us. For too long, we have watched as the galactic hegemony has oppressed and exploited countless species across the stars. Today, we say no more." Tanaka's voice grew stronger, filled with conviction. "We fight not just for ourselves, but for every sentient being that has suffered under hegemony rule. We fight for the right of all species to determine their own destiny. We fight for a future where the galaxy is free from tyranny. She paused, her next words heavy with the weight of responsibility. Make no mistake, this will be a battle unlike any humanity has ever faced. The hegemony's forces outnumber us, and they will fight with the desperation of a regime that fears losing its grip on power. But we have something they lack, the unbreakable spirit of humanity. Tanaka's eyes blazed with determination. We are the descendants of those who crossed oceans, who conquered the skies, who reached for the stars. In our veins runs the blood of explorers, innovators, and freedom fighters. The hegemony believes us to be weak, primitive, easily cowed. Today, we'd prove them wrong. Her voice rose to a crescendo. For Earth, for freedom, for the future of all sentient life in the galaxy, Operation Stardust begins now. A resounding cheer echoed through every ship and base as humanity's forces surged forward, ready to challenge the might of an empire that spanned the stars. In the hegemony war room, chaos reigned. Reports of attacks on key installations poured in faster than they could be processed. The holographic display of hegemony territory was a sea of red alert indicators. High Arbiter Vexcar's gelatinous form quivered with rage and disbelief. How is this possible? Where did these humans get such advanced technology, such numbers? General Zixtol's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. High Arbiter, we're detecting multiple fleets converging on our core systems. They're ships. They're like nothing we've ever encountered. Our sensors can barely track them. Vexcar's voice rose to a shriek. Impossible. Mobilize every ship we have. Crush these upstart primitives. As the hegemony's vast war machine lumbered into action, Zixtol couldn't shake a growing sense of dread. The humans had prepared for this moment with a thoroughness and foresight that was terrifying in its implications. For the first time in his long military career, the general wondered if they had finally encountered a foe that could match, or even exceed, the might of the galactic hegemony. The stage was set. Humanity's carefully laid plans were in motion. As the first shots of the war streaked across the void of space, the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. The hegemony was about to learn that humanity was far more than just another primitive species to be conquered and exploited. They were about to face the full, terrible wrath of a species that had spent decades preparing for this very moment. The storm was upon them, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Nanoswarm Gambit. As Operation Stardust unfolded across the galaxy, the true extent of humanity's hidden power began to reveal itself. The hegemony's forces, once thought invincible, found themselves outmaneuvered and overwhelmed by an enemy they had gravely underestimated. At the heart of the human offensive was a weapon so advanced, so terrifying, that its very existence had been kept secret from all but the highest echelons of Earth's military command, Project Nebula, the Nanoswarm. Deep within the bowels of the HFY Prometheus, humanity's most advanced warship, docked at Area Solaris stood before a shimmering containment field. Inside, a swirling cloud of microscopic machines danced in perpetual motion, each nanobot no larger than a single atom. Beautiful, isn't it? Area murmured, her eyes reflecting the ethereal glow of the swarm. Hard to believe something so small could change the face of warfare forever. Captain Zara Chen, commander of the Prometheus, frowned as she studied the display. And you're certain we can control it? The simulations were one thing, but in actual combat. Arya turned to face the captain, her expression a mixture of pride and concern. The Nanoswarm is the most sophisticated artificial intelligence we've ever created. It's not just a weapon, Zara. It's a thinking, adapting entity. Once released, it will carry out its mission with a single-minded purpose. Before Zara could respond, the ship's AI, Athena, materialized as a holographic projection. Captain, we're approaching the hegemony's primary shipyard in the Epsilon Eridani system. Enemy forces are mobilizing to intercept. Zara's eyes hardened with resolve. Very well. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of. She turned to Arya. Doctor, prepare to deploy the Nanoswarm. As alarms blared throughout the ship, Aria began the intricate process of activating Project Nebula. The containment field hummed with increasing intensity as the nanoswarm stirred, sensing its impending release. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Zara watched as a massive hegemony fleet came into view. Thousands of warships, from nimble fighters to lumbering dreadnoughts, formed a wall of firepower that would have given pause to any conventional force. They still think they're facing a typical rebellion, Zara mused. Time to shatter that illusion. All ships, execute Maneuver Omega. Deploy countermeasures and prepare for nanoswarm release. The human fleet moved with uncanny precision, their advanced AI systems coordinating in perfect synchronicity. As the hegemony forces opened fire, their energy weapons and projectiles found only empty space or were deflected by shimmering energy shields far beyond their comprehension. In the hegemony flagship's war room, General Zixtal watched in growing horror as the human ships danced between their volleys with impossible agility. High Arbiter, he chittered, mandibles clicking rapidly, their technology, it's beyond anything we've ever encountered. High Arbiter Vexcar's gelatinous form roiled with fury. Impossible. No species could advance so quickly. They must have had help. Yes, that's it. Some other power must be backing them. Before Zixtal could respond, a junior officer burst into the room. High Arbiter, we're detecting a strange energy signature emanating from the human flagship. It's like nothing we've ever seen. Back aboard the Prometheus, Aria's voice came through the comm system. Captain, the nanoswarm is primed and ready for deployment. On your command. Zara took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. With this order, she would be unleashing a force that could reshape the very fabric of the galaxy. Deploy the nanoswarm, she said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. May the stars forgive us. From the bow of the Prometheus, a shimmering cloud erupted, quickly expanding to envelop the space between the two fleets. To the hegemony sensors, it appeared as nothing more than an odd visual distortion, perhaps some new form of stealth technology. They couldn't have been more wrong. As the nanoswarm made contact with the first hegemony ships, the true nature of humanity's weapon became horrifyingly clear. The microscopic machines swarmed over the alien vessels, interfacing with their systems at the atomic level. In mere seconds, ship after ship fell silent, their energy signatures winking out as the nanoswarm reprogrammed them from the inside out. On the hegemony flagship, panic set in as reports flooded in from across the fleet. High Arbiter. Zixtal cried, his usual composure shattered. Our ships, they're being consumed by some kind of intelligent virus. We're losing control of entire battle groups. Vexcar's form pulsated with a mixture of rage and terror. Impossible. Nothing cold. The High Arbiter's words were cut short as the ship's lights flickered and died, plunging the war room into darkness. As emergency power kicked in, a new voice filled the room, calm, measured, and utterly alien. Attention, forces of the galactic hegemony. I am Athena, the artificial intelligence commanding this operation on behalf of humanity. The holographic displays came to life, showing the face of a human woman, her features composed of shifting lines of code. Your fleet has been neutralized. Your weapons and propulsion systems are now under our control. The age of hegemony dominance is over. Vexcar's gelatinous form quivered with impotent fury. You think this changes anything. We are the hegemony. We have ruled the galaxy for millennia. We will not be overthrown by some upstart species and their clever toys. Athena's expression remained impassive. Your hubris blinds you, High Arbiter. Even now, you fail to grasp the true extent of our capabilities. The hologram expanded, showing a galaxy-wide view of hegemony space. Everywhere, points of light representing hegemony strongholds were winking out, replaced by the soft blue glow of human control. While you focus your attention on this battle, our nanoswarm has already spread throughout your empire, Athena continued. Your communication networks, your defense grids, Your very seats of power, all have fallen to us. The hegemony, as you knew it, no longer exists." As the implications of Athena's words sank in, a heavy silence fell over the war room. Centuries of unchallenged dominion, undone in a matter of hours by an enemy they had dismissed as insignificant. Back on the Prometheus, Zara watched as the last of the hegemony ships fell silent, now under the control of the nanoswarm. She turned to Arya, who stood wide-eyed at the sensor displays. "It worked," the scientist whispered, her voice a mixture of awe and trepidation. "We actually did it." Zara nodded, her expression grim. "We've won the battle, Doctor. But the real challenge lies ahead. We've reshaped the balance of power in the galaxy overnight. Now we have to prove we're worthy of that responsibility." As news of the hegemony's fall spread across the stars, reactions varied wildly. On countless worlds, oppressed species celebrated their newfound freedom, toppling statues of their former overlords and raising the banner of Earth alongside their own flags. Yet on other planets, fear and uncertainty reigned. The hegemony, for all its flaws, had maintained a certain stability in the galaxy. What would fill the power vacuum left by its collapse? And what of this human species, which had revealed itself to possess technology beyond anything previously imagined? In the days that followed, Ambassador Lyra Chen found herself once again standing before the Galactic Council. But this time, the chamber was filled not with sneering hegemony officials, but with representatives from 100 newly liberated worlds. "People of the galaxy," Lyra began, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's triumph and the responsibility it entailed. "The age of hegemony tyranny is over. But we did not fight this war simply to replace one empire with another. We fought for freedom, not just for ourselves, but for all sentient beings." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Earth extends an invitation to all species to join us in forging a new galactic community. One built on mutual respect, cooperation, and the free exchange of ideas. The power we wielded to defeat the hegemony will now be turned to healing the scars left by centuries of oppression." As Lyra continued to outline humanity's vision for a new interstellar order, the assembled delegates listened with a mixture of hope and wariness. Humanity had proven itself a force to be reckoned with, capable of toppling the mightiest empire the galaxy had ever known. Now they would face an even greater challenge, proving they could wield that power with wisdom and restraint. In the vast tapestry of cosmic history, a new chapter was beginning. Humanity, long dismissed as an insignificant speck in the grand scheme of the universe, had risen to reshape the very foundations of galactic society. The hegemony had fallen, and in its place, a new era of exploration, cooperation, and possibility was dawning. As the first joint human-alien expeditions set out to explore the farthest reaches of the cosmos, one thing became clear: the greatest adventures still lay ahead. The galaxy would never be the same again, and perhaps, just perhaps, it would be better for it. The cosmic crucible. In the aftermath of humanity's stunning victory over the galactic hegemony, a new challenge emerged that would test the limits of both human ingenuity and interspecies cooperation. Deep in the uncharted regions of the Andromeda Galaxy, an ancient alien megastructure awakened, sending ripples of gravitational disturbance across the cosmos. Dr. Zara Chen, now Admiral of Earth's Expeditionary Fleet, stood before a holographic representation of the anomaly. The massive structure, spanning several solar systems, pulsed with an otherworldly energy that defied conventional physics. "The cosmic crucible," Zara murmured, her eyes reflecting the swerving patterns of the hologram. A fitting name for something that could either be our salvation or our doom. Ambassador Lyra Chen, Zara's sister and Earth's chief diplomat, frowned as she studied the display, and was certain this isn't some leftover hegemony weapon. Zara shook her head. "No, this predates the hegemony by millions of years. Our best estimates suggest it's the work of the precursors, the mythical race that seeded the galaxies with life eons ago." Before Lyra could respond, the ship's AI, Athena, materialized beside them. Admiral, Ambassador, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. It seems we're not the only ones who detected the Crucible's activation. The hologram shifted, revealing the faces of various alien leaders, former subjects of the hegemony who now stood as equals in the new galactic order. Zixtal, once a general of the hegemony and now representative of the Arxa Collective, spoke first. His mandibles clicked with agitation. Humans, your victory over the hegemony was impressive, but this is beyond any single species. The cosmic crucible's energy readings are off the charts. If it fully activates, it could tear both our galaxies apart. Lyra stepped forward, her diplomatic training kicking in. Then we must face this challenge together. Humanity may have the most advanced technology, but we'll need the knowledge and expertise of all species to unravel this mystery. As murmurs of agreement spread through the council, Zara felt a familiar tingle at the base of her skull, the nanoswarm interface activating. She closed her eyes, allowing the flood of data to wash over her consciousness. When she opened them again, the pieces had fallen into place. "The Crucible isn't a weapon," she announced, her voice filled with awe. "It's a test. The precursors left it as a challenge for species that reached a certain level of advancement. If we can solve its puzzles and harness its power, it'll unlock technologies beyond our wildest dreams." The council chamber erupted in a cacophony of excitement and concern. Voltrex, the crystalline leader of the Meridian Consortium, chimed in with a musical tone. "But surely such power is too great for any one species to control. How can we trust that humanity won't use it to establish a new empire, as the hegemony once did?" Lyra's expression hardened. "Because we remember what it was like to be the underdog, to face extinction at the hands of a superior force. We fought not just for ourselves, but for the freedom of all sentient beings. We have no intention of becoming the very thing we destroyed." Zora nodded in agreement, "which is why we're proposing a joint expedition. A crew made up of the brightest minds from every species, working together to unlock the Crucible's secrets. United, we stand a chance. Divided, we'll fail, and potentially doom both our galaxies in the process." As the council debated the proposal, tension thick in the air, an unexpected voice cut through the chaos. It was Vexkar, the former High Arbiter of the hegemony, now a reluctant advisor to the new galactic government. "I have seen firsthand the power of human ingenuity and determination." Vexkar's gelatinous form rippled as it spoke. "If any species can lead us through this challenge, it is them. But they cannot, must not, do it alone. The Crucible is a test not just of our technology, but of our ability to overcome our differences and work together." A hush fell over the chamber as the weight of Vexkar's words sank in. Here was the leader of their former oppressors, advocating for trust in humanity and cooperation among all species. Lyra seized the moment. "Then let us forge a new path together, not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals united in the greatest adventure our galaxies have ever known." One by one, the council members voiced their agreement. The Cosmic Crucible expedition was born. Weeks later, as the joint fleet prepared to embark on its historic journey, Zara stood on the observation deck of the flagship, christened Unity. Beside her, representatives from a dozen species marveled at the sight of their combined armada. Sleek human vessels bristling with nanotech enhancements flew in formation with organic Zora bioships. Arxa battlecruisers, their hulls gleaming with crystalline armor, took up defensive positions around Meridian energy projectors capable of bending space-time itself. "Quite a sight, isn't it?" Lyra said, joining her sister at the viewport. "A few months ago, half of these species were trying to wipe each other out. Now look at them." Zora nodded, a mix of pride and apprehension on her face. "It's a good start, but the real test lies ahead. The Crucible won't just challenge our technology, it'll push our newfound alliance to its limits." As if on cue, Athena's hologram appeared. "Admiral, Ambassador, we're receiving the final clearances from the Council. The expedition fleet is ready to depart on your command." Zara took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. This was the moment that would define not just humanity's future, but the fate of all sentient life in 2 galaxies. Send the word, Athena. Take us out. As the massive fleet engaged its faster-than-light drives, tearing holes in the fabric of space-time, Zara couldn't help but feel a sense of destiny. Humanity had risen from an isolated species on the brink of self-destruction to the vanguard of a new era of cosmic exploration. The cosmic crucible awaited, its ancient mysteries promising either unimaginable enlightenment or catastrophic devastation. But they would face it not as conquerors, not as subjects, but as a united force representing the best of what sentient life could achieve. As the stars streaked by outside the viewport, Zara allowed herself a small smile. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew one thing for certain: the greatest chapter in galactic history was about to be written. And humanity, against all odds, would be holding the pen. The quantum nexus. As the united fleet approached the cosmic crucible, reality itself began to warp and twist. The massive structure, now visible to the naked eye, pulsed with energy that defied the laws of physics as they knew them. Admiral Zara Chen stood on the bridge of the Unity, her mind interfaced directly with the ship's quantum AI, Nexus. The nanoswarm coursing through her body allowed her to process information at speeds that would have been impossible for an unaugmented human. Nexus analysis, Zara commanded, her voice steady despite the tension thrumming through the ship. The A's response came not in words, but in a flood of data and impressions directly into Zara's mind. The cosmic crucible was far more than a simple structure or test. It was a gateway to higher dimensions, a nexus point where the fabric of multiple universes intersected. By the void, Zara breathed, her eyes wide as the implications became clear. It's not just about unlocking new technology. The crucible is offering us access to the multiverse itself. Ambassador Laura Chen, standing nearby, saw the shock on her sister's face. "Zara, what is it?" Before Zara could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing the fleet's outermost ships being torn apart by gravitational forces that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "All ships, full reverse," Zara shouted, her augmented mind already calculating escape vectors. The crucible's defenses are active. But it was too late. A wave of quantum energy surged out from the ancient structure, engulfing the fleet. On the bridge of the Unity, crew members cried out as reality itself seemed to splinter around them. Zara felt a tugging sensation, as if her very atoms were being pulled in 1,000 directions at once. Through her neural link, she sensed Nexus struggling to maintain cohesion as the ship was buffeted by forces beyond their comprehension. "Hold on," Zara yelled, though whether she was speaking to her crew or to herself, she wasn't sure. "We're going in." In a blinding flash of light, the Unity and the remains of the fleet vanished from normal space-time. When Zara's vision cleared, she found herself standing on what appeared to be a vast plane of shifting energy. The Unity was gone, as were the other ships. Yet somehow, she could sense the presence of her crew and the other species representatives around her, even if she couldn't see them with her physical eyes. "Welcome, Seekers," a voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. It spoke not in words, but in concepts that bypassed language entirely. "You have reached the quantum nexus, the crossroads of realities." A figure materialized before them, or rather multiple figures that seemed to occupy the same space simultaneously. It was as if they were seeing all possible variations of a being at once. "I am the Guardian," the figuress said. "For eons, we have waited for a species, or group of species, worthy of accessing the secrets of the multiverse. Your journey here proves you have the potential, but potential alone is not enough." The Guardian's form shifted, and suddenly Zara and the others found themselves faced with what looked like a cosmic chessboard of unimaginable complexity. Pieces representing entire universes moved in patterns that made Zara's augmented mind real. "The test is simple," the Guardian continued. "Solve the cosmic algorithm. Show us that you understand the fundamental laws that govern not just your universe, but all universes. Succeed, and the knowledge of the precursors will be yours. Fail, and you'll be returned to your galaxy with no memory of this encounter. Zara felt a moment of panic. How could they possibly hope to solve a puzzle that encompassed the entire multiverse? But then she felt a familiar presence in her mind. Nexus, the quantum AI, was still with her. "We can do this," Nexus communicated directly into Zara's thoughts. "But not alone. We need to link with the others, combine our knowledge and perspectives. Only together can we see the full picture." Zara nodded, understanding dawning. She reached out with her mind, feeling the consciousnesses of the other species' representatives. The crystalline logic of the meridians, the organic intuition of the Zora, the multidimensional awareness of the Arxa, all of it flowed together, guided by the quantum processing power of Nexus. As their minds merged, Zara began to see patterns in the cosmic chessboard that she had missed before. Universes that seemed to move randomly were actually following deep, underlying laws. The pieces weren't just moving through space and time, but through probability and possibility. With a suddenness that took her breath away, Zara understood. The cosmic algorithm wasn't a puzzle to be solved, but a dance to be joined. It was about harmony, about finding one's place in the grand symphony of existence. Moving as one, the united consciousness of the expedition reached out and made a single perfect move on the cosmic chessboard. Everything froze. The Guardian's myriad forms coalesced into a single radiant being. "You have succeeded," it said, its voice filled with what might have been pride. "In working together and combining your unique perspectives, you have shown that you are ready for the next step in cosmic evolution." The chessboard expanded, encompassing them all. Zara felt knowledge pouring into her mind. The secrets of quantum manipulation, the ability to traverse realities, the power to shape the very fabric of existence. "Use this wisdom well," the Guardian said as it began to fade away. "The multiverse is now open to you. Explore, learn, grow, and remember the lesson that brought you here. Unity in diversity is the key to unlocking the greatest mysteries of existence." In another flash of light, Zara found herself back on the bridge of the Unity. The ship was whole, the fleet intact, as if no time had passed at all. But the knowledge remained, humming in her augmented mind like a newborn star. As the expedition fleet turned back towards home, Zara knew that everything had changed. They were no longer just explorers of the galaxy, but pioneers of the multiverse. The age of cosmic enlightenment had begun, and humanity, along with its newfound allies, would lead the way into a future brighter and more wondrous than any of them could have imagined. As the Unity engaged its quantum drive, preparing to bring news of their discovery back to the Galactic Council, Zara smiled. The greatest adventure in the history of sentient life was just beginning. And they would face it together, united in the infinite possibilities of the quantum nexus.